Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello! My name is Caroline and I make sewing tutorials and sewing patterns to help you along the sewing journey. And today's video is the full sewing tutorial for my new pattern, the Paula Dress. The Paula Dress is the perfect dress for summer. It has a romantic French vibe to it and it comes in 3 different views. View A is a midi-length dress, View B is a short dress, and View C is a top following the same bodice construction. It has a sheared center back panel, gathered cuffs with adjustable tie straps, an A-line skirt, and an invisible zipper on the side. It also comes in a very wide size range, which I'm very proud of, from a size 28 all the way to a size 62, and I'm gonna write down the measurements on the screen. This pattern has been tested by almost 100 sewists, and I would like to take a moment to thank them for their help. Your feedback was very important, and it helped me bring this pattern to life in the best way possible. So thank you to all of my lovely pattern testers. So when it comes to choosing your size on this dress, my recommendation is to go by your waist measurements. Because of the design of the pattern, there's already a pretty generous amount of ease at the bust and the hips area. The cuffs are gathered, so there's naturally a lot more room at the bust, and the skirt is flared, so there's also a lot of ease at the hips. You might not even need to alter anything in these areas because the extra ease is already part of the design. But the waist only has wearing ease, so there's the most important measurement when choosing your size. So choose a size by your waist measurement, and then check the final garment measurements chart to see what the finished bust and hip measurements look like for that size, so you can decide if you need to alter anything. Which brings me to the next part, the adjustments. Inside a PDF, there are instructions on how to make a full bust adjustment, a small bust adjustment, how to lengthen and shorten the torso length, the skirt length, and how to make it fit wider hips. It's a very simple pattern to alter, and the instructions cover everything in detail, so if you need to make any adjustments, you'll be able to do it. If you're not sure about the bust coverage, I highly suggest making a toile of the top at least first. This gathered seam here should sit right under your bust, and if you need more coverage at the top, you can just very simply alter the pattern. And if you need more information on the fabric requirements, the materials, and the full size chart, you can find all of that linked in the description of the video. Now, before we start with the sewing tutorial, I would like to explain some details about the pattern. There's a section inside the PDF that covers this as well, but I wanted to keep it in the video so you don't miss it. The pattern has lots of notches to help you position the pieces correctly, so please make sure to transfer all of them to your fabric before you start sewing. These are the bust notches. They mark the area where you will gather the fabric on the cup before attaching it to the bodice. These notches on the bodice here are so you know which side goes with which side. The back has the same notches, but there are 2 of them, so you don't get confused. This one marks the placement of the strap, and this triangle notch here marks where the side back panel will be sewn to the under bust seam on the front bodice. So this area right here. And inside the strap pattern piece, you'll also find the measurement for the elastic that goes in the center back panel casing. So now let's finally go to the sewing tutorial. So before we start, I want to mention something about the straps. The strap pattern piece is 6 centimeters wide, but the finish width of your strap will depend on how far away from the folded edge you sew. I personally like thinner straps and I don't really need a lot of support, but if you prefer thicker straps or if you're making a bigger size and you need more support, you can sew further away from the fold, up to 2 centimeters away, and the further you sew from the fold, the thicker your finished strap will be. And if you're making them thinner, you just have to trim the excess fabric and you're good to go. Cut 2 strap pieces. Fold each strap piece right sides together lengthwise and sew 0.7 centimeters or a 1/4 inch away from the folded edge. Turn the straps right sides out using a loop turner or a small safety pin. Then press well with an iron. Cut 2 center back bodice panels, one in your shell fabric and one in your lining fabric. Place them right sides together, aligning all the edges, and sew across the top edge with a 1 centimeter or 2/8 of an inch seam allowance. Trim the seam allowance down, then understitch it, which means to turn the seam allowance towards the lining and stitch it to the lining close to the seam line. Turn the panel right sides out so the wrong sides are together and press flat. Edge stitch around 0.7 centimeters or 1/4 inch away from the top edge to create a casing. Cut a piece of elastic to add to the top of the center back pattern piece. Measure it using the guide inside the strap pattern piece. That measurement is already calculated for you, so just follow what's indicated there. Then thread the elastic through the casing using a safety pin or a loop turner. Once through, sew both ends of the elastic securely to close the casing. Pin both layers together along both side edges and edge stitch to join them into a single unit. Now you need to sew the shirring rolls across the panel. So a few things to keep in mind when you're shirring if you're not familiar with it. Shirring is done by using elastic thread on the bobbin and regular thread on the top. Here's how to set it up. You should wind the elastic on the bobbin by hand with a little bit of tension, but do not stretch it. The elastic should sit evenly on the bobbin without being too tight or too loose. Then you insert the bobbin as usual and you thread your machine with the regular thread on top. About the tension and the stitch length, it will depend on your machine because every machine is different. So you may need to test on a scrap piece of the same fabric before. If the shirring is not gathering enough, then you should raise the tension a little, and if the stitches are pulling too tight on the right side, you can lower it. I usually just raise the tension a little bit, like 1 point on my machine comparing to how it is when I'm sewing with regular thread, and that is usually enough, but it can be different on yours, so always test on a scrap fabric. Then you sew the rows on the fabric with the right side of the fabric facing up, so the elastic thread will be on the wrong side of the fabric. And I personally prefer to backstitch at the beginning and at the end of each row. That way I know that the elastic will not escape, but I know that some people prefer to leave it, like leave a long thread and then tie it by hand, but that's up to you. Each row should be approximately 0.7 centimeters or 1/4 inch apart from each other. You can transfer the row lines to the fabric with chalk or just use the width of your presser foot as a guide. And please follow the 0.7 centimeter spacing between the rows. This is really important. If you space your rows further apart, there will be less elastic to tension the fabric, and the center back panel will not gather as much. Also, if you are using a thicker fabric, keep in mind that the elastic will have a harder time shearing it, so the result may be a little bit less gathered than expected. After shirring, steam the panel using your iron held above the fabric. Do not let the iron touch the fabric because this will flatten the shirring. The steam will make the elastic contract and the gathering tighten. Press the seams open and repeat for the lining layer 2. Place the cup shell and the cup lining pieces right sides together, aligning all edges. Sew along the curved top edge with the 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Turn it towards the lining and understitch. This will prevent the lining from showing on the outside. With the cup pieces still right sides together, sew along the slit line. But when sewing, make sure to start 1.5 centimeters below the seam that you just sewed at the top edge. This gap is important because it will become part of the casing for the straps later, so do not sew all the way up to the previous seam. Trim the seam allowance along the slit, and make small vertical clips into the seam allowance along the curve, cutting close to the stitching but not through it. This will allow the seam to lay flat when it's turned, but you can also turn the seam allowance towards the lining and understitch. However, this might be a little bit more complicated because you will not have access to go all the way to the edges. Place the cup pieces right sides together again, and then sew the underarm seam, leaving 1.5 centimeters unsewn at the top of the seam. Again, this space is needed for the strap casing. Then trim the seam allowance, turn it towards the lining, and understitch as far as you can go. Turn the cup right sides out. Sew a line of stitching approximately 1.5 centimeters from the top edge, running all the way around to form the strap casing. At this point, test that the straps can actually be pulled through the casing. You don't need to fully thread them yet, because it's actually easier to leave them loose for now and just thread them at the end when the dress is already completed. Sew a gathering stitch along the bottom edge of the cup right between the notches. Use the longest stitch length on your machine and do not backstitch at the beginning or the end of sewing. Separate both threads and pull the one from the bobbin. Gather in the fabric until the bottom of the cup between the notches is the same width of the front bodice between the corresponding notches. Pin the bottom of the cup to the top of the shell layer of the front bodice, right sides together. Match the notches and sew with a 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. With the right side facing up, fold the cup downwards onto the front bodice and place the front bodice lining right sides together with the shell bodice, sandwiching the cup between the two layers. Pin the top edge and sew with a 1 cm seam allowance. Place the two side-back bodice pieces right sides together. Insert the end of the strap between them right at the notch marked at the top. Pin and sew with a 1 cm seam allowance. So about the strap, you should trim the seam allowance, but do not trim the strap seam allowance too short, because if you do, when you're wearing the dress, the strap might just rip. So keep the strap seam allowance a little bit longer than the bodice seam allowance. If you keep it at around 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch, that is more than enough. And don't forget to understitch the seam allowance of the strap to the lining so it is even more secure. Take the side back panel that will be sewn to the right side of the front bodice, wrap it around the side front bodice panel, right sides together, matching the shell to the shell and the lining to the lining, and aligning the top edges. Pin and sew the side seam with a 1 cm seam allowance. This step is a bit tricky for smaller sizes because the side back panel might be a little bit too narrow. Place the sheared center back panel right sides together with the already assembled side back panel. Then bring the lining layer of the side back panel over it so it's also right sides together with the center back panel. The space will be limited because the side panel is already attached to the front, but there is enough room to sew, so pin carefully and then sew with the 1 cm seam allowance. Then repeat the steps on the other side of the side back panel. Fold each dart right sides together, pin it in place, and sew from the wide end towards the tip. Do not backstitch at the tip, just leave a long thread instead and then tie a knot by hand. Then press the dart towards the side seams. The back skirt is cut in 2 pieces, so place them right sides together, pin the center back seam from the waist to the hem, and sew with a 1 cm seam allowance. Then finish the seam with an overlocker or a zigzag stitch. Place the front skirt right sides up and the back skirt right sides down. They should be placed right sides together. Pin the right side seam and sew with a 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then finish the seam with an overlocker or a zigzag stitch. Pin the bottom of the bodice to the top of the skirt right sides together, matching the side seams and then aligning the vertical seams of the bodice with the dart positions on the skirt. Sew the waist seam with the 1 cm seam allowance and then finish the seam with an overlocker or a zigzag stitch. Finish the raw edges of both side seams with an overlocker or a zigzag stitch. Now it's time to insert the invisible zipper. Align the plastic stop of the zipper tape with the top edge of the dress. Sew the zipper in place along one side seam first and then repeat on the other side seam. If you need more guidance on how to install an invisible zipper, there's already a full step-by-step tutorial on my channel. I'm going to link it in the description. To finish the zipper tape ends, just fold each end inwards between the zipper and the fabric so it's hidden and then top stitch it in place to secure it. So now that the zipper is in, it's time to hem the dress. I recommend hanging the dress overnight because the skirt is flared and we're using very fluid fabric. So the fabric can end up stretching a little bit, especially at the sides where it's cut on the bias. If you hem it right away without hanging it, the hem might look a little bit uneven. The pattern does account for that, but every fabric is different, so it is worth checking. So hang it overnight and then check again, and you can trim any areas that are a little bit pointy. And also, while you're at it, you can check the length of the skirt. If you want to shorten it, now is the time. And to finish the hem, you have two options. The first is to overlock the edge or use a zigzag stitch if you don't have an overlocker, and then fold it inside by 1 centimeter. Press it really well and then top stitch. And the second option, if you don't have an overlocker, is a double fold. So you can fold the raw edge up by 0.5 centimeter, press it, and then fold it again by 0.5 centimeter, press again, and top stitch. Both methods will use 1 centimeter for the hem, so the final length for the dress will be the same. Then you need to thread the straps through the casing and your dress is ready. If you want to make the top version, the construction is basically the same thing as the dress up until the point where you're going to attach it to the skirt. The zipper on the top version will open from the waist up. That was the only way that I found to make it able for you to put it on and take it off without a detachable zipper. Since there's quite a lot of ease at the bust area, you can take it off and put it on. However, it's still a little bit tight to put it on, so if you have trouble with movement, if you have a hard time putting on tight clothes and raising your arms to do it, then in that case, I think it would be better if you just use a detachable side zipper. There are more detailed instructions inside the PDF with photos and everything, so if you want to make the top version, you'll be set. But yeah, keep that in mind. But that's it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also, follow me on Instagram, is at Coraline.street. I've been a lot more active there lately, and the pattern tester call for this dress was made through Instagram, so it would be very nice to see you there. And if you make your Paula dress, don't forget to tag me so I can see it too. I used the hashtag CST Paula Dress. It was a lot of work to bring this pattern to life, and I am so grateful for everyone that helped me along the way. But it's finally out, and I hope you love it as much as I do. Hope to see you guys around next time as well. Take care. Bye!